Fight.
Saber combat is a growing sport in which Jedi Knight wannabes duel with hard plastic fictional lightsabers inspired by Star Wars, samurai sword fighting, and fencing. Tournaments are spread across the nation. The Des Moines chapter of the Saber Legion was inspired 3 years ago by the Minnesota chapter.
I go with the old adage of old and crafty. I'm sneaky, and I'm a professional stuntman who's been using swords for 20 years, so this wasn't very much of a reach for me. I'm very good with the sword. I am the Iowa champion for 3 years now, 3 different tournaments. I'm the Iowa champion. A friend of mine, Grayson, and I are the doubles champions for 3 years also. Our group is called Cobra Kai. There's 4 of us, and we do very well at these tournaments. And we do kind of emulate the Cobra Kai from the movies. We like to raise a ruckus, cheat a little bit if we can get away with it, and come away with a lot of medals. Jousting is what brought me to Iowa. I was a professional jouster for almost 10 years before I moved to Iowa, and I came here to start up my own team as I had contracts that I could do in this area for jousting. The Renaissance fairs from here to Wisconsin, down to Wichita, Kansas, that's pretty much where we kind of hailed in this area in the Midwest. But Joust Evolution, we just celebrated our 13th year. We'll be starting our 14th next year. But we perform at Renaissance festivals here in Des Moines and all over the Midwest from Nebraska on down. But I've been doing that for over 20 years now. It's stunt work, horse work, but that's what kind of got me into the lightsaber dueling, was the sword work. Some of our performers, our stage combat performers, were the ones that really kind of got us started.
I got into this because me and one of my best friends, Dane, had been beating each other up with plastic swords for years. Plastic lightsabers.
Lundy and I started just toying around with the idea of doing this. And we really hadn't seen, any of the Saber Legion guys. We didn't even know they existed. And we went to a couple Comic-Cons, we bought our lightsabers, we thought it was really cool. Went to a Comic-Con and we got brought up on stage to do a lightsaber fight, just out of the blue. And we did the fight, and everybody thought it was great. And then a guy came up to us the next year and said, "Hey, we're gonna do this next year. Can you guys put on an informational show about this stuff?" So then we formed the first Iowa Saber Academy, which was literally just talking about sabers, talking about stage combat. So we took actual swords and lightsabers and kind of combined them into an informational show. And then on days that we weren't doing jousting, at joust practice, we'd go out to our farm in Waukee here, and we just started toying around, practicing our sparring, practicing for upcoming things we wanted to do. And then Kevin's like, "What are you guys doing?" And we told him what we were doing, and he's like, "Well, that sounds cool." Sure enough, he started buying sabers for him and his 2 stepsons at the time, and that's where kind of it all took off. So the people who founded the Iowa Saber Academy would be me, Alex Lundy, and Kevin Coble. So we're the top 3 guys that run everything.
Lightsaber dueling is like a fantasy camp. It's not the Olympics, but it's something that we grew up with as a kid. I was the first generation. I was 9 years old when Star Wars came out. So picking up a lightsaber and actually fighting with one is almost like a dream come true. And for anyone who's gotten into Star Wars and as a hobby or as just loving the genre, it's kind of something that just they've always wanted to do and never been able to do. And I think as kids we've all picked up a broom handle or a toy lightsaber and we've pretended to fight. The sabers we use are professionally made, and they hold up to fighting. They hold up to full contact, swinging hard. We've had guys with lots of bruises. We've had guys with head ringing. We bend, break, and destroy equipment. We have a good time, and it's a great exercise. It may be on the geeky side, but there's nothing wrong with being on the geeky side. It's a hobby where people can get together, and we don't take it too seriously. We're not planning to go to the Olympics. We're not planning on going and winning a gold medal. We get together on a regular basis and have a good time. There are rules like fencing and anything like martial arts. We've adapted some of the things from different forms. The Saber Legion is based out of Minneapolis, started by a bunch of guys kind of like ourselves who just wanted to fight with lightsabers, and it grew. They found a lot of other people who enjoyed the same thing, and it became a nationwide thing, and then eventually an international. Mexico City just started a charter this year. There's a tournament every year in Las Vegas where hundreds of fighters come and compete for the World Championship. And there's charters all over. There's Florida, California, some of them very large. Ohio, that has a great group there that compete every year. We have tournaments here, our own. They're not Saber Legion sanctioned, but we do have members of the Saber Legion, our own, and others that come and compete. This year there was the Nebraska State Games actually recognized lightsaber dueling or energy sword dueling, so the trademark doesn't become an issue. And Iowa, we took a team up there and did very well. We got a few medals there and had a good time. But it's growing every year. The Saber Legion is probably the lead right now. We created teams here in the area. There's a Knoxville team called the Knights that comes all the way up every week to fight with us. There's my own team, the Cobra Kai, which is the longest established team of almost 3 years. The Spartans from here in Des Moines, and we get together on a regular basis and full contact lightsaber dueling. The French have named it a sport. It is actually, there's a tournament in France every year. They've named a champion. The idea for that is to get people excited about something besides video games. They're talking about an Olympic demonstration sport. The United States is still kind of moving around, but there's large organizations in the United States that have picked it up. There's charters in 40 states of the Saber Legion, which we are the Iowa charter. And that is in 40 states and 8 or 9 countries at this point, and it's over 8,000 members strong. Well, we got the first pools of the tournament. Everybody will fight 4 matches, and the winners of those matches and the losers of those matches, it will be determined of where they're going to stand in the bracket for the tournament at Icon. And this is the standard division, which is mostly everyone's using about the same weapon, a 36-inch blade and a 12 to 16-inch handle. We score by 10 points. You get 1 point for each time you make a touch before your opponent. So you get 10 points, you've won your match. And there's a 5-minute time table. So after 5 minutes, who's ever ahead wins. If it's a tie at that point, it's a sudden death 1 point. And winner takes all.
I met Kevin a couple months ago, and then we met up again at the Cornhusker State Games, and we've been talking and talking. Just he opened up the invitation to come to this tournament. I'd jump on it.
Yeah, we're kind of a joke team. We got some cool. We got the Spartans, we got the Cobra Kais, and we got all these cool animals. And like, no, we'll be Will Ferrell. Yeah, we like to do the gag, a little bit of joke. Yeah, but that's kind of our thing. So. We saw something on Facebook, and we saw this guy fighting, and 6 months later I'm in a ring fighting him in Vegas, so that's basically what happened. We've been doing it for less than a year. We've been doing other kind of martial arts stuff for a long time, so when we saw this we were really captivated to go ahead and do it, but no, it was really quickly how we got to the sport, from never doing it to fighting these guys who've been doing it for months and professionally doing it, so it's really cool to get in there and do that. So just now this is our first tournament, so we're really trying to get the rules and legitimates right now, so we'll see what happens.
This is my 4th or 5th tournament I've been to. Last tournament I was in, I ended up winning championship for novice, and then I ended up placing 5th in the main intermediate masters.
In lightsaber dueling, scoring, protective gear, and techniques have roots in kendo, a form of samurai sword fighting.
Kendo is a samurai sword-based martial art. We practice techniques of the long sword and use those to develop our character and martial ability. Raccoon Valley Kendo Club practices once a week in West Des Moines. We're an all-levels group, and it's a great opportunity to learn the beginning and fundamentals of Kendo right here in West Des Moines. Many of us frequently travel to other states to practice with the Federation and higher-level senseis, and sometimes we bring them back here to train with us as well. So there's a lot of great opportunities to learn here. Kendo originated in Japan, and it's the conglomeration of a lot of schools of swordsmanship. They were consolidated at the turn of the century in order to prepare to teach them nationally in schools. And around that time is when Kendo became how it's viewed and practiced today. This is what's called a shinai. It's made of 4 pieces of bamboo that are bound together tightly with leather and other fittings. This allows us to interact with our training partner and hit targets without seriously injuring them. So we wear armor to protect target areas so that our opponents can strike and have a good practice with us. I'm wearing part of the armor right now, which I'll explain. This is called a tare, and this is merely protection for the lower part of our body. We don't do any strikes below the waist. What I'm wearing on here is a chest protector, or what's called do, and this armor protects the abdomen, which is striking targets on this side and on this side, simulating a sword cut in between the rib and hip. The other armor that we have available to show you, this is called a kote, or a forearm protector. This is a valid striking target in the middle of the forearm, and then also on our other forearm, but only when it's above our head. And then finally, of course, is the helmet, which is probably pretty famous looking, but the top of the head is a striking target called men, and also the throat is a target called ski. That's a strike in this area here. The scoring and point system is highly complex. It takes a certain number of years to be able to coordinate your body enough to even understand that on a basic level. All of our movements and our attacks in Kendo have to be intentional. So we're going to start from a place of good posture, ready, tightly in control, and at an appropriate distance from our opponent. When the timing is right, we're going to initiate a strike to one of the 4 targets that I talked about. Most common, the one target that we use is men, or the head. What we'll do is start our body moving forward, and then when we strike, we need to lunge with our back foot, stomp with our front foot, strike the target strongly with good posture, and say the name of the target all at the same time. So in real time, or almost real time, it looks something like this. And with those elements and a correctly struck target, which the referees can tell by the sound, and of course visually, you'd be awarded a point. So there's significant competitive opportunities for Kendo. We actually have a tournament coming up next week for our federation in Chicago. Frequently we travel to cities like that to participate in Kendo events with other groups from around the country. And there's certainly worldwide events as well, although those are a little bit above our level. So. Kendo is something that you can do at all ages and levels. It's something that you can continue to practice into your for the rest of your life, and something that we can always continue to work on regardless of our abilities. We have a lot of fun doing it, and we'd love to see anybody join us here as well.
Scoring, protective gear, and techniques in lightsaber dueling are also inspired by the Olympic sport of fencing.
Yeah, this is Red Door Fencing. We run classes and training and private lessons for kids and adults that want to learn how to fence. We specialize in épée, which is one of 3 Olympic weapons. And we are affiliated with USA Fencing, which is the national organization, and we're also a nonprofit. Épée. Yes, literally the French word for sword. So there's foil, epee, and saber, and the rules are slightly different on those things depending on the weapon. In epee, the entire body is target, so as long as you hit the other person, you get a point, as long as that light goes off. In foil and saber, there's some rules that are called right-of-way. The way I explain it is whose fault is it you're both dead? So the idea is back in the day when they were training people to actually hurt each other, which we don't do anymore, they wanted to teach people to properly defend themselves. So those rules were to kind of mimic that situation. My understanding is it kind of developed from military dueling, and there's lots of myths out there. You know, you insulted my mother, so I'm going to stab you now, and that kind of thing. And that's all, like, I've heard so much over the years, I'm not really sure what's true anymore. I was 16 and I didn't really have much to do that summer besides work, and my mother said, "Oh, you read Lord of the Rings, you're a nerd, you'd like fencing." And you know, when you're 16, your mother calls you a nerd, you're like, great. But I decided I should go and try it, and it was really fun. So we have a protective mask that protects your face and your neck. Then we have a jacket that are pretty sturdy. So obviously if someone's blade breaks, you're not going to get impaled or bleed or anything like that. It's pretty safe. There's also a second layer that goes on under the jacket, a second half jacket. There's a chest protector. There's also fencing pants. And we have a glove that covers your weapon hand. And then there's the weapon, of course, and there's a body cord that connects the weapon to the electronic scoring system. So the way epee works is it's basically just a button. So you have to hit with the tip, but you push the button down, it connects the wires, and a light goes off on the box. So it's just completing a circuit. That has to go down. So it's not a lot, it doesn't take a lot. So if you hit somebody with the side, it does nothing. So the way we move in fencing is a little bit different than other sports. We have this long, skinny strip that we fence on. So instead of side to side, you're moving kind of up and down a lot. So to go forward, we advance, and to go backward, we retreat. And then the most common way to attack is with a lunge. So you start with your arm out, and then you kick and push, and that should be pretty fast and powerful. Yes, we host several tournaments a year here at our facility. Sometimes we rent out gyms for the bigger events. There's several clubs in Iowa that also host tournaments, and we travel around the Midwest and sometimes further nationally. I think it's pretty easy to get started. We try and keep that barrier to entry pretty low. We have all the equipment, so people can borrow pretty much everything they need, as long as you have some athletic pants and some good closed-toed shoes, like running shoes or volleyball shoes, and the kind of court shoes work well.
In contrast, participating in saber dueling can be expensive with the purchase of equipment and high-quality lightsabers. A combination of fencing, hockey, football, or lacrosse equipment provide protection. Many fighters have custom-made and fitted armor.
This is the TCU Fighting Frog, Super Frog. I'm a huge TCU fan, always have been. So I decided to base my armor around the TCU Horn Frog. Yeah, it's all 100% custom except for the shin guards pretty much. The leather greaves, the leather breastplate and back protection, and the helmet are all pretty custom made. I got my shin guards from Broomba. It's a baseball company, they're catcher's cleats, and then the pants are just football, padded pants.
I don't know, I justify the cost because, you know, what, you get an Anytime Fitness thing, it's like $60 a month, you take that to a year. I mean, that's about maybe a good startup cost, because I mean, it's like, if you want official headgear stuff, there's $100 in helmet stuff. Throat gear, that's 40 to 60. This is 60. You know, you could buy some used stuff. Play It Against Sports is our friend. Like this is $15. You can get like hockey gloves. Those are like $15 used.
A lot of our guys use hockey, lacrosse, such like that. I actually also use a bit of kendo gear. Like this is a kendo tare. It's basically a groin, leg, thigh protector. This is a kendo breastplate. I like these because the breastplate's harder. It can take a bit more of a beating. I also wear the kendo gloves because I like how the wrists, it protects my forearm a decent range as well as the wrist. And though the padding's a little bit thinner, I feel it offers more than enough protection to deal with everything. There is a set minimum for gear. There isn't really a standard for what you should or should not have. It's generally recommended you have a stiff gorget, which is the throat guard right here. Mine's actually not technically standard. It's a foam gorget with plastic backing. We would normally recommend you wear a metal gorget like a knight would wear, or just someone who's used to armored combat, because throat shots, even with these, yes, they're polycarbonate, yes, they're not like a real sword, but you take a throat shot, even to just one of these softer pads, it's still going to hurt a lot.
Well, we're hoping people come out to Icon this year and have a good time at a great little Comic-Con here in Des Moines. And they come out and cheer us on. We're going to have a great tournament. We've got our best Iowa fighters that are going to compete really hard. It means something to us, so we hope that Icon really enjoys it and brings us back in their yearly championship.
I got lucky.
He cheated.
Cheated.
He cheated. He paid off the refs.
Yeah.
El Nino. No, great match. I got a big lead. I don't even remember how it was, like 5-point lead.
Yeah, 6-1.
And, yeah, and this guy came back and tied it up and then beat me with like 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds now.
So great match, a really good match.
Yeah,
And
it was awesome. I love
hopefully he
fighting
takes the
Kevin.
title.
Kevin always puts me in my place. When I'm
Oh, yeah.
He's got that reach, he's got that tallness, and he's deceivingly fast for a man his size.
Wait. What do you call me, fat?
No, I'm calling you giant.
Oh, yeah, that's what we...
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look, let's put the arms out. Let's see the arm line. Yeah.
Look at that.
That's crazy.
No, great match.
Yeah, it was
Great match.
awesome.
Looking forward to seeing who wins the whole thing.
Ready, go. Go.
The prediction was right that I called on 2 weeks ago. Frog wins. He's a hard fought against Rick. He's a great fighter. He had me on the ropes there for a while, I thought, and used my reach, and just what my teachers taught me to pull out that victory. Medal. Man, a nice shiny piece of metal to take home. It says champion on it. It'll be my second one in this organization, so pretty excited.
Well, on the heels of a successful Icon tournament, we are going to be holding the first ever energy sword, lightsaber sword, whatever you want to call it,
event in the Iowa State Games this year in 2020, Winter Olympics, or Winter State Games for Iowa. So we will be hosting here at our normal training facility at Camp Sunnyside. And we'll be bringing in fighters from Kansas, from Nebraska, Iowa, of course. It should be a great tournament and our biggest yet.
To all the women out there, you know, if you something you want to do, you know, I definitely recommend it. It's awesome. It's wonderful cardio. There's a wonderful group here. It also shows, you know, we're tough. Bring it on. You know, men can't do everything. So yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. You know, don't be afraid to come out and join, whoever you are. You know, it's a lot of fun. Come do it.
We do have loaner equipment we let people put on and see what they like and what they don't like. Some people it's for, some people it's not. But anybody who wants to give it a try, we'll give them time. And we like when new people come in. So we definitely like passion, and it's always fun to fight some new people. And any Star Wars fans or swordsman fighters or anyone that wants to come in can jump right in.